Hey DOPs, today we'll break down one of my recent works, a promo for the Dance with the Stars show, filmed like a casting, or I would say an interview. I have already posted some breakdown images and light schemes of this project on my Instagram, and this post has become the most popular ever in my account. That could be because most of my followers don't yet get into big projects and shoot mostly interviews of similar type. That's perhaps the reason why it has gained so much attention. So I decided to make a video for YouTube too. Even more, I had an additional filming day so I could photograph all the schemes, all the lighting inventories, and where it all was located. Now, I'll show it all to you. Let's go. We had an ordinary office space as our location. Some walls painted gray, others white. When we first got into the location, the very first thing I paid attention to was an enormous window across the wall with the sun shining all through it. The client wanted to have a bright and shiny picture, so I decided to imitate the sunlight, creating an impression of a window, which in fact was not there. It was on the 10th floor, so we couldn't use a real window to light the set. That's why we were forced to imitate it artificially. The first thing we had to do was to cover the window with big textiles so that not a single ray of light could pass through it. It's impossible to get any control when the sun strikes the window. It moves all around and it's senseless to use it when it strikes frontally. Our decision was to cover the windows. When choosing the camera angle, we were proposed to film against the gray wall. But when we see a single wall in the frame, the image becomes somewhat flat. Yeah, we wanted to have a tri-dimensional image. So we needed to have the perspective lines, and that's why I preferred to have a corner within my image framing. It helps you add some space, some extra dimension in your frame. That's why we got all of our equipment to shoot on the corner of the room and discussed how to fill the set. We added some furniture in the background, a poster with the show's logo, and then we had to put the table somewhere, the table behind which the actors were supposed to sit. And that was quite a simple solution. We moved the table as far as possible from the background to have the maximum distance between the actor and the background, and that's how we got the blur in the background behind the actor. So we moved the camera as far as it was possible and we put the table according to our lens, which was a 32mm lens in our case. So all the lighting was located to fit exactly this setup. The first step I make to light the interview is the main key light. Here we could afford using a 8x8 feet diffusion frame with frost filter and an Arri Skypanel next to it. This fixture covers all the surface of the diffusion frame with its light, and we get a very soft key light on the face. We put the diffusion frame in such a way that the other part of the face still remains in a shadow. But I also put another small diffusion frame between the big one and the camera with an Astera Titan next to it. When the girl was inside the filming set, I lighted this shadowed part additionally in order to have the contrast softened. Female faces require more softened contour, so I normally had this filling light turned off when filming a boy and turned on when filming a girl, just to soften the contour on the face. In order to create a sunlight effect in the background, I used ETC Source 4 theatrical fixtures, which have very warm lamps with great control over them. They have specific shutters, and you can modify the angle of the light, narrow it, or widen it by closing or opening them. It has also a tool that adjusts the focus of the rays. You can easily have the border of the light spot very firm and clear like a projector, or have it slightly blurred. Having adjusted all these settings, we were able to get a realistic image similar to the rays of sun falling through the window. I used two different fixtures as a contour light. One of them was a hair light just behind the actor's head, an Astera Titan attached to the ceiling just to liven up the hair of the actors. I could also adjust its intensity according to the hair color of the actor. Namely, I dimmed it a little when the person inside the frame was blonde, and when it was someone with darker hair, I added some brightness. By doing so, we will always be able to have the hair's contour highlighted and detached from the background. As the second contour light, I used a Litemat 2L, which stood at the height of the actor's head, slightly behind, to highlight the shadowed part of the face, the cheek, the cheekbones. I also utilized a third ETC source 4 as the source of sunlight, which was set to highlight the edge of the clothes, the elbow, the arm, the table also. It repeated thereby the main sunlight not only in the background, but passing also to the foreground. Not affecting the face of the actor, however. Here, we used the fixture's shutters to cover it and not to allow the parasite ray to strike the face. We also had a quite boring black-colored shelf with no light at all passing inside it, so we put an Astera Titan under it, and I thought the yellow color could do it well. In fact, the yellow light was the first we tried, and it remained our final decision. This helped us liven up the shelf area, to have it detached from the black clothes and to have all these folders and books and other stuff well elaborated. Another light mat was used to light the wall in the background. It was still dark and contrasting. The background where our sunlight did not pass was still dark. Therefore, I put one fixture to light the ceiling, which was white, to have the light reflected from the ceiling onto the wall and brightened it up a little. When filming a daylight scene, not a night scene, you wouldn't want to have dark backgrounds. After all, the lighting scheme is quite ordinary. Key, fill, contour. Here, the main aspect is not the scheme itself, but the intensity level of the fixtures we use. You should not burn your actor with a contour light which is too bright, which is not occurring in real life when we look at people. Normally, we do not find perfect contours. You would want to create a realistic effect, and that's why the levels should be well balanced. A little bit of contour, a little bit of back contour, not to get into overexposure of the contour being too bright. And if you think that the equipment I used is too expensive and you cannot afford it, you're wrong, because it's really not that important. You can easily replace the hair light by an LED panel. It does not have to be a Astera Titan. I just have it, so I use it. And you can easily use a small LED panel instead. The same thing for contour, the light, the corner of the cheekbone. You do not need an expensive and complex device. Just a small LED panel on a C-stand or a tripod. Colored LED panels are available on AliExpress. They're cheap. I have a lot of them. For example, I use Yongnuo YN360 light wand. I also bought myself a lot of square-shaped Yongnuo panels, and I use them a lot. In fact, now you can see some red LED lights there. Also, a panel right here, lighting the background, and the other one on my face. These are not Astera fixtures. I keep them in a suitcase and I'm too lazy to take them out. You can simply buy some cheap fixtures and repeat the scheme. The only thing here which is a bit harder is the sunlight. But once again, I do not think you would always need it. There are many locations with real frame depth with natural light shining through the window. In our case, we were deprived of using the real sunlight from the window, so we had to imitate it artificially. A good and soft key light can be achieved by any fixture. The only important thing is to widen the radius of the light. That is, we need the maximum surface of the diffusing frame to have a soft light on the face. You could use a frost filter roll attached to a C-stand, or use a frost textile attached with 2 pins. Almost every fixture can be used to light it. Use a Kinoflow, use a 1 kilowatt fixture, a 2 kilowatt fixture. There is no need in using an expensive Skypanel. Once again, I have my personal taste in fixtures. I use them because it's fast, it's safe and convenient, and I recommend you to also use all of the most advanced technologies. But you shouldn't be disappointed if you don't have the access to it. You can always achieve the same effect with simpler instruments. Use your imagination and your ingenuity. Get less expensive fixtures and get very good results as well. I wish you success in your work and see you in the next video.